Warmly welcome everyone to the Quick Tips in Microsoft Business Application series. Episode 10, Power Platform and SAP. I have a special guest, Isuru Fernando, my friend, joining with this episode.
I've got an amazing guest, Isuru Fernando, my friend, joining with me today for Quick Tips in Microsoft Business Applications episode to share tips about Power Platform with SAP. He's a senior SAP consultant and blogger, speaker, and community contributor. I will hand it over to Isuru to introduce himself to the audience. Over to you, Isuru.
Yeah, thank you, Kasun, for that introduction. It's great to work with you on this integration topic. It's a really fun activity when you get to work with your friends on these kind of technical topics. Great. So thank you, Kasun. Yes, I'm Isuru Fernando. I'm a SAP integration architect. I have been working with SAP, especially on SAP implementations over the past 10 years. And I'm also the founder of SAP-integrationhub.com. Yeah, if you are interested in SAP integration, SAP related topics, of course, visit my website, SAP-integrationhub.com, and you can connect with me through there. And currently, I'm based in Germany, in near Munich, in a small city called Nuremberg, and I'm working on a SAP HANA S4HANA implementation project for one of the largest retailers out here in Europe. And also, you can see these are some of my clients that I have been working with during the past 10 years. Over to you, Kasun.
Let's talk about Power Platform because we have audience from SAP as well as from the Dynamics space as well. So let's introduce about the Power Platform for the interest of the SAP audience so that they get an understanding on what's Power Platform. So Power Platform is basically consisting of four major components: Power BI from the left side, Power Apps, and Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. So these are the four major components that we have. Let's talk about the Power BI. Power BI is the business analytics space, so you can do the BI, all the BI stuff using the Power BI, and the Power Apps is for your application development. So you can build your low-code applications as well. And for the Power Automate is the connector. So you have 300 plus connectors that you can connect to. And the Power Virtual Agents is the low-code way that you can create the chatbots. And you wouldn't really need a data scientist to do that inside the Power Platform that you can leverage on. So basically we will be focusing more on the Power Automate and the Power Apps for today's demo scenario. And let's hear from Isuru about the SAP. So let's see what is SAP and how we can connect the SAP to the Power Apps. And let's hear from SAP.
So I will give you a very brief introduction to SAP. SAP is the market leader in enterprise resource planning softwares. So as you guys know, enterprise resource planning softwares means the software covers all day-to-day business processes of an organization. For example, you can have sales and distribution, manufacturing, supply chain. So all of these different business processes are managed by SAP as a ERP. So SAP stands for SAP Applications Products in Data Processing. So SAP ERP was first founded in 1972, and over the past years it has evolved to become one of the most comprehensive ERPs out there in the world today. And starting from their R2, R3 versions, the current latest version of SAP ERP is SAP S4HANA. So HANA means it's SAP's new technology, which is a in-memory optimized database technology. So that's why the newest version is called SAP S/4HANA, because it runs on this in-memory optimized database. Then we will go into how we're gonna integrate SAP with Power Apps. Because there are so many different ways that you can integrate SAP with third-party applications. But in this scenario, we will use a technology or a method called Bappy. So Bappy stands for Business Application Programming Interface. This is one of the methods third-party application can interact with SAP business objects. So SAP, as I said, is one software that covers all different business processes of organization. So it contains vast number of business objects, like let's say sales orders, purchase orders, invoices, just to name a few. So Bappys provide kind of a secure and a standardized interface, so third-party applications can interact with these business objects in SAP. So Bappy, just give you a high-level architecture of a Bappy is, you can imagine it's kind of like a individual method of an object class, right? So each object contain one or more Bappys designed for a purpose. For example, let's take sales orders. So sales order may contain Bappys for a sales order create, then a sales order change, or a sales order display. So for an article object would contain Bappys for a article create or a article information update, things like that. So in this example, to give you an example of Bappy, so Bappy, the name starts usually prefixed as Bappy underscore. For example, this Bappy you see here in the screen, Bappy underscore sales order change. This is the Bappy that we use in SAP to change a sales order in SAP side. So just to give you a high-level overview of the integration scenario that we gonna present to you today. So what the overall goal is to fetch exchange rate details from SAP side. From Power Apps, we'll send a request to SAP side to fetch the exchange rates of a certain currency conversion. For example, let's say USD to EUR or EUR to USD. And from SAP, we expect a response with the exchange rate of those two currencies. So for this scenario, we will use a Bappy called Bappy underscore exchange rate get detail. So this Bappy actually gets our input from the Power App side with the currency codes, then returns us the exchange rate between those two currency codes.
Let's look at that example from the Power App side. Let's run through the demo and let's see how we can fetch that SAP details data, the exchange rate data from the Power Apps itself. Okay, let's look at Power Apps in action with SAP. So this is the application. So this is the Power App. So we create a Power App for to track the from currency and the to currency. And then once we define the from currency and to currency, then it'll fetch the data using the Power Automate. And then you will see the exchange rate, which is in the SAP, which is coming into the exchange rate column here, this field. And then we can actually multiply that the exchange rate value that we get here, and then it'll display the amount. So let's look at that in action. So we have from currency USD and the to currency we got EUR, and let's check the exchange rate. So that'll run that value is being passed from currency and to currency to the SAP, and then fetch the data from the SAP. So that exchange rate is 0.85. And this is a slider that you can change any amount that you want to multiply. So exchange rate into this amount to this value, and then it'll give you the amount. So it'll multiply this slider value with the exchange rate, and then it will get us the amount. So that's what we do in this application. So it will basically take pass through the from currency and the to currency and give you the exchange rate. So let's look at the flow that we have used, the Power Automate. So the Power Automate part, we have the Power Apps actually getting these two value from currency and to currency, these two value that as we have shown earlier in the application. And then it will use the call SAP function. So that's the one which Isuru was talking about earlier. So we use the Bappy function to get the exchange rate. And then the response is actually coming back to the Power App. So that's the response that we've seen earlier. And that's what we have done from the Power Apps and the Power Automate. So Power Automate basically use as a connector to connect to the SAP and then fetch the data, and then we display it in the Power Apps. So let's look at whether the values that we are getting from SAP is correct, and then we can ask Isuru to show us the SAP, and then we'll see the value that we got 0.85. Is it the correct value which is coming from the system? So over to you, Isuru, so we can see the backend from the SAP, and then we see the value that actually we got here, which is the correct value. Let's look at that.
Yeah, thank you, Kasun. So yes, as you guys saw, so we are inputting two currency codes in the Power Apps. Then we are getting the exchange rate. So what you are seeing currently is the SAP GUI. So the Bappy function that I spoke about in my previous slide, you can access it via in SAP we call a transaction called SC37. So we go to SC37. So the Bappy, you can enter any Bappy name here, but of course what we need is the exchange rate Bappy. So just type it here. Like so. So here is the Bappy that we're going to use. So what we're going to do now here is from this transaction, we'll simulate what we did in the front end. So click on this button, test execute, and you will come to a screen like this. So here you have the import parameters that we have for this Bappy. So current currency, the rate type is M. This is a constant that we use. It's a internal SAP value. So the from currency, of course, is USD, and to currency is EUR in our scenario. So for the date, we are always passing today's date. So today, 2/8/2020 will pass to this parameter. So we have set all the import parameters of this Bappy. Now what we have to do is just to simulate what we get out of this Bappy. Just click on this execute button over here. Right. So now you see that the Bappy has been executed properly. So here you will find the output we are getting. So this is our exchange rate. This is the actual value that we use in the Power Apps front end to as the exchange rate. So as you see here, 0.85 is the currency conversion from USD to EUR.
Thanks, Isuru, for joining with me today's QT MBA show. Thanks for the great tips on SAP and Bappy and how we can connect with Power Platform. And we run through a scenario from Power Apps and connect with the Power Automate to the SAP. So that was a great scenario that we run through. And stay tuned for more videos on SAP and Power Platform as well. And I will leave Isuru's website in the comments. So if you want to connect with him, you can definitely find him there. And Isuru, do you want to add anything to our audience?
Yeah, Kasun, thank you. It was actually my pleasure working with you on this topic. Yeah, from school days up to now, it's great to do projects together. So if you want to connect with me, of course, you can go to my website, sapintegrationhub.com, and just write to me there. I would love to connect with you. And also, we will have more content on these kind of integrations, especially with SAP and Power Platform and Power Apps in the near future. So thank you again, Kasun, for
Yeah, thanks.
getting me involved in
Thanks,
this project.
thanks, Isuru. Thanks a lot. And stay tuned for more episodes coming up. And thanks for watching this episode. Thank you.